Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new episode of Games and Names. Our sport for this episode is the sport of squash, and our featured star guest is Captain Mustafa Abdessalem, squash coach. So let's get to know more about squash in Egypt, which dominates the sport globally, and about Captain Abdessalem in the upcoming minutes of Games and Names. Squash, sometimes called squash racket, is a racket and ball sport played by 2 or 4 players in a four-walled court with a small hollow rubber ball. The players alternate in striking the ball with their rackets onto the playable surfaces of the four walls of the court. The objective of the game is to hit the ball in such a way that the opponent is not able to play a valid return. There are about 20 million people who play squash regularly worldwide in over 185 countries. The governing body of squash, the World Squash Federation, the WSF, is recognized by the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, and the sport is included in the Olympic Games after a number of applications. Squash has been added for the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. The Professional Squash Association, the PSA, organizes the Pro Tour. Squash has its origins in the older game of racket, which was played in London's prisons in the 19th century. Later, around 1830, boys at Harrow School noticed that a punctured ball with squashed on impact with the wall offered more variety of the game. The game spread to other schools. The first courts built at Harrow were dangerous because they were near water pipes, buttresses, chimneys, and ledges. Natural rubber was preferred material for the ball. Students modified their rackets to have a smaller reach and improve their ability to play in these cramped conditions. In 1864, the school built 4 outside courts. In the 20th century, the game increased in popularity with various schools, clubs, and private individuals building squash courts, but with no set dimensions. The first squash court in North America was at St. Paul's School in Concord, New Hampshire in 1884. In 1904, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the earliest national association of squash in the world, the U.S. Squash Rackets Association, now known as U.S. Squash, was formed. In April 1907, the Tennis Racket and Fives Association of Queens, New York, which regulated those 3 sports, fives being a similar sport using hands instead of a racket, established a subcommittee to set standards for squash. In 1912, the association published rules for squash combining aspects of these 3 sports. There were further developments in 1912 as the RMS Titanic had a squash court in first class available, and then in 1923 the Royal Automobile Club hosted a meeting to further discuss the rules and regulations, and the 1980s witnessed a period of restructuring and consolidation as the Cambridge Rackets factory was forced to close in face of the move to graphite rackets, and production was moved to the Far East. And since the 80s really, and then the 90s, it is the squash that we know today, with the racket, the ball, the court, and all of the regulations that we know today, including, of course, the tactics of the game, the service returns, the referees, the point system, and everything related to physics.
أنا اسمي مصطفى عبد السلام.
My name is Mustafa Abdessalem. I became a squash coach in 2009. I was a student at the Faculty of Physical Education, and I consider Dr. Khalid Naim to be my godfather, and he's the reason
why I embarked in this career. I started as a beginner at Nasr City Club under Captain Magdi Saad, God bless his soul, and he was the national team coach of Saudi Arabia at the time. And then I was under the direction of Captain Saeed Saad, and also I played in Family Land in Maadi, which is affiliated to Al Ahli Club, then with a Shams Club, and I also coached clubs in Alexandria. I was able to get a lot of championships with the players I coached, especially in the 11 years age category. Squash is an elite sport. It increases all aspects of physical fitness. Squash for me is not just a job, but a hobby, and I really enjoy developing the skills of youngsters and getting the best out of them. I started my real coaching career and my big successes with the Wadi Digla youth sector under the leadership of Captain Karim Darwish, who is now the vice president of the International Federation of Squash. Then I continued my successes with Ashams Club and currently with Black Bull Club under the leadership of Captain Ashraf Hanafi, who is the national team coach of Egypt. I have developed the skills of 72 players who have international rankings and also high local rankings. And this is something to be reckoned because, as you know, Egypt dominates the sport globally, focusing now on players who play in the 15 and 17 years age category. We have one of the biggest complexes for squash in Egypt, no less than 16 courts, including a main court which is suitable for hosting international events. And I want to assure you that the youth sector in Egypt and the sport of squash is just as successful as the senior sector, which dominates the sport globally. We also dominate the sport globally in the youth sector, and I want to praise here the efforts of Mr. Asim Khalifa, the head of Egypt's National Squash Association.
قواعد اللعبة بسيطة جدا زي أي لعبة من ألعاب المضرب.
Squash rules are really very simple, like these that belong to racket sports. We have a number of courses and seminars for referees that are being organized in Egypt on a regular basis, and many Egyptian refereeing experts like Captain Nasser Zahran oversee some of these courses and seminars. Here in Egypt, we organize 13 national championships every year. Those championships are organized by top clubs in Egypt, top squash clubs like Al Ahli, Al Shams, Al Said, the 6th of October Club, where I belong. There are also national championships organized in Alexandria by the Sporting and Samuha clubs. And that is aside from the provincial championships the Port Said Championship or the Tanta Al Gharbiya Championship. Now, and after squash officially became an Olympic sport, there is even more care and attention and efforts here in Egypt to sponsor squash players and to develop their skills and to make sure they stay at the top. And for that to happen, we are lucky to have a great number of expert coaches in the sport that I consider them to be like precious diamonds, really. Now, in the men's competition, Ali Farag, Egypt's Ali Farag is number one, and we have no less than 9 players in the top 20, and that is a big achievement. In the women's category, of course, we have Noor Shirbini at number one. We also have the big names of Nouran Gohar and Hani Al Hamami, and a number of other players in the top 20, and this is where we intend to stay at the top of the game.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make me move. You can make me move. Can make me move. You can make me move. Can make me. So alive, make it last forever. Stop in time, yeah, I'm surrendering. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you. Open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint
To preserve Egypt's dominance over the sport globally, we need to create a broader base. The Egyptian Squash Association is doing its best. We also need more from the media. We need media coverage. We need media to cover squash like it covers football or soccer, Egypt's and the world's number one popular sport. And Egyptian squash deserves that. I mean, after all, we are number one globally. We expect no less than 4 medals at the upcoming Olympic Games. Squash is a beautiful game. It's a game for all ages. It's a way of life. It keeps your physical fitness at the highest levels. My wish really is to see all of Egypt playing squash. I love it when I see the pioneers play in the over 35 championships. Again, squash is a way of life. I finally want to thank all of those who have helped me in my career. There are many, so many, that I cannot name all of them, but I have to mention here Dr. Khalid Naim, Captain Ashraf Hanafi, Captain Abbas Qaoud, Captain Omar Al-Burlusi. And I finally want to say that my wish is to see Egypt continue and expand its domination of the sport globally, and for all Egyptians of all ages and all walks of life to practice this beautiful sport.
If this night is not forever, at least we are together. I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. Anywhere, whenever, our purpose is together. I know I'm not alone. I know I'm I'm wide awake. Wanna feel one last time. Take my pain away. If this night is not forever, at least we are together. I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. Anywhere, whenever, our purpose still together. I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not
اولا الدول اللي بتنافس مصر كتير جدا.
Egypt dominate the sport globally, but we do get a lot of tough competition from countries like England, and notably in the men's competition from Mohammed al-Shourbagi and Marwan al-Shourbagi, who no longer now play for Egypt, but now represent the English Squash Federation. Also, the United States has a number of top-ranked players. So does Pakistan, New Zealand, and really a number of countries across the board globally. Now, on the Arab scene, there is no real competition for us. But Qatar and the United Arab Emirates are, making strong efforts to develop players in the future that could compete with Egypt and other big powers in the world of squash. Locally, the most important championships are the national championships and also the championships organized by top squash clubs here in Egypt, like Shams Al Said, Al Ahli, Sporting Samuha. Internationally, the most important championship is the World Championship, the US Open, the Black Ball Championship here in Egypt, the Morgan Championship, the Qatar Championship, and the PSA in New Zealand, Malaysia, and other countries. And of course, the ranking of the players internationally depend on their performances in these championships. Here in Egypt, we're not just satisfied by topping the sport globally at the moment at the men's, women's, and youth levels, but we are also trying to discover new talents. There are efforts by the Egyptian Squash Association and by Captain Amir Wagih and other top names in touring the different governorates in Egypt and trying to discover new talent and trying to get a broader base for the sport across youth centers in all of Egypt.
بيتم انتقاء اللعيبة بقى في قطاع الناشئين.
We select national team players according to their rankings and the positions they occupy in the many national championships that we organize yearly here in Egypt. Of course, squash is a game that depends on basically talent and professionalism. It also needs a lot of dedication and lots of patience. I can't really tell you that there's a major difference between men's squash and women's squash, except, for when it comes to power, naturally, the men's game has more power. But as far as tactics go, it's the same sport. Even they almost train alike. So the only difference is big power in the men's game. And now a squash player, really specifically top squash players, are never alone. They have a team of their own, a big team that includes a physical coach, a fitness coach, a mental coach, a nutritionist, many doctors, and so on. This sport has become a science, really. When it comes to preparing youth, we first teach them how to handle the racket, and then how to feel the ball on the racket, how to time their strikes, how to block the shots, the styles of the different strokes, how to hit the ball from a standstill position or while moving. And then we go into the tactics, and then we give them games experience, first friendlies and friendly tournaments and friendly matchups, and then we go into official competitions. Here in Egypt, we organize